Oh my god. We have officially entered 2026, meaning that within this calendar year, unless something unexpected and horrible happens, I will finally get my hands on the sequel to one of my favorite video games of all time, Tomodachi Life. I flipped my shit when I found out this game was getting a sequel last year. Holy shit. No fucking way.
Refreshing.
It's fucking Tomodachi Life! Oh my god! Holy shit! I went into every Nintendo Direct for the past 5 years asking for two things. A remake of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, and something Tomodachi Life related. Hell, I would have taken a port of the 3DS game, like the one we got of Miitopia back in 2021. It's a little difficult to describe Tomodachi Life and what makes it appealing. You essentially create these little avatars of whoever you want, real or fictional, person or burger. You put them together on an island and watch them interact and socialize. It is a simulation game in the purest sense of the word, and it's hard to find something that scratches that same itch. The closest thing I can liken it to is The Sims, but there are key differences. You are much more uninvolved in Tomodachi Life. Your Miis will essentially just ask for permission to do certain things or meet certain people, whereas in The Sims, your characters need constant attention or they'll probably kill themselves. The most important thing I can emphasize about Tomodachi Life to people who haven't played it is that it is not a game for everyone. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's not even a game for most people. You really are just an observer most of the time. A lot of the fun for me comes from creating these characters and fine-tuning their personalities, then just watching things unfold. Tomodachi Life and its Japan-exclusive predecessor Tomodachi Collection are such interesting little experiments from Nintendo. I'd honestly go as far as to say it's the most casual game I've ever played, which made it perfect for a system like the 3DS where you can crack it open for a few minutes a day and see what everyone's up to. Back when Tomodachi Life came out in 2014 in America, the 3DS was my primary console of choice. I vividly remember riding my bike to our local GameStop on release day and just spending that entire summer obsessed. It was unlike anything I had ever played before. It was so unique and interesting, and I've been chasing that same feeling ever since. For someone like me who has an active imagination and loves creating little storylines in my head, it was so captivating. Tomodachi Life is also one of my favorite games to watch other people play through. Every person who plays will bring together a differently eclectic set of characters and act as a unique narrator to the chaos that ensues. I want to give a special shout out to Vinesauce Vinny's Tomodachi Life streams, which I frequently rewatch and that even have their own TV tropes page to cover all the characters and lore. If you're in the mood for something more raunchy, Oni Plays also has a really funny series on the game. I also did my own short series of streams, which you can check out if you're interested, but make no mistake, streaming the sequel when it comes out this spring will be my #1 priority. So let's talk about what we've seen so far of Living the Dream and make some predictions and wishes. The game has been featured in 2 separate Nintendo Directs. The announcement trailer from March 2025 doesn't give us too much to work with in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay, more so just a confirmation that it exists and a look at the updated visuals. But the most important thing that we see is that the island where the Miis will live looks considerably different than before. Instead of apartments, Miis get their own little houses as well as a collection of shops and common areas. My primary hope is that there are more buildings than just these. I think the one in the bottom corner is supposed to be a cafe, but we'd still be missing the grassy park and especially the amusement park. We can expect that, unlike in the 3DS game where the Miis spent most of their time in their apartments, they'll be seen outside, roaming a lot in this one, so I want there to be a good variety of things for them to do. We also got to look at the updated Mii characters, which I think look great. This was expanded upon in the September 2025 Direct, where we saw the updated Mii creation tool. The new hair options look great. Being able to choose different bangs and backs is a really nice addition. They have ears now, which is new. But the most important bit that people have been wondering about is whether or not the makeup system will return from the Miitopia Switch port. That makeup tool and the way it was used by players was absolutely insane, and probably sold a lot of copies of that port all by itself. It would be a real shame if that system wasn't kept for Tomodachi Life. I'll even go a step further and say that minus the wigs, which I assume are just being merged into the general hairstyles this time, it would be a really big missed opportunity if we weren't able to import Miis from the Miitopia port. People spent a lot of time on some of those Miis, Nintendo. Then we get to the personality assignment screen, which is practically identical to the 3DS Tomodachi Life screen, albeit with a few descriptors changed. I get that you don't want to overcomplicate the process of creating a Mii, so on a surface level I'm fine with this. But I do hope there are more personality types than the 16 from the 3DS game. The more unique personalities that we can give, the better. This was shown in the announcement trailer, but we do get further confirmation that the text-to-speech voices are indeed back. Hell yeah. That was always one of the most charming things about the original games, and something that was sorely missed in Miitopia. A lot more returning features are confirmed here. You'll still be feeding your Miis and giving them unique interiors and outfits. It seems like the interiors are pre-built instead of customizable, which is fine, I guess. I do hope there's some degree of interaction with a Mii's given interior. Miis in the old game would just sit on the floor and stay within essentially a small circle at the center of their rooms, not interacting with any of the furniture. Just give their interiors some functionality. We haven't seen anything about the gift system, where upon leveling up you'd give your Mii some sort of hobby or object to play with. These were always my favorites, so I hope there's plenty of them to give. The more the merrier. The most dramatic change that we can observe to the gameplay so far is that you can actually pick up and drag Miis over to others to cause them to interact. This is a big change. In the past, you'd have to wait for the Miis to decide on their own who to become friends with and when. It was always an exciting moment to see the orange or especially the pink problem icons on their apartments, but now I can seemingly instigate those moments at will. It gives the player a certain degree of agency in what goes on this island, which will inevitably affect the overall feel of the game. I can see this being a divisive change, but as long as the Miis can still decide to meet independently and don't require you to push them towards it, I think it's fine. One of my favorite parts about the 3DS game is that the world feels like it continues living while you're not playing, and new developments can happen that you won't learn about until you check in again. Finally, one of the biggest questions we have at the moment is how many Miis can we fit on our island? The most houses on the island we've ever seen in either of the two direct presentations is 16. If each Mii gets their own house, that's 16 Miis as compared to the 3DS's 100. Now, I know that might seem ridiculously low, and for some people that's a deal breaker on the game itself. But if we're operating under the assumption that you can't expand the island in some way and this is the maximum amount of Miis that you can have, I could be fine with this. I just hope where we lose quantity, we gain quality. In other words, a wider variety of interactions and relationships that Miis can engage in. I'm fine with having a smaller cast of characters if those characters can have more depth in the ways they behave and interact with each other. In the 3DS game, I always settled around a comfortable 20 or 30 Miis, just so I wouldn't be spreading my attention too thin. Again, I totally get it if a big appeal of the game for you is having dozens and dozens of wacky characters, but for me, I'd be fine with narrowing the scope if it meant greater depth to the character interactions. This could also be a complete non-issue and the island could expand once you add enough Miis up to like 200 houses or something, who knows. We'll just have to wait and see. The game's music seems appropriately quirky, the visuals are nice, you still play as photorealistic hands and the Miis still eat photorealistic food, so that's a relief. And can I just say, thank God this game is coming to the original Switch. I say this as someone who owns a Switch too. I think not taking advantage of the Switch's massive install base for this more unconventional game would have absolutely kneecapped its sales unnecessarily. I'd be happy with a free Switch 2 edition with mouse controls, or even just an update that boosts the frame rate and resolution. My last two hopes are that Living the Dream gets its own Nintendo Direct like the 3DS title did. And finally, it would be great if we could get a demo of the game so more folks could taste test it. Bonus points if we get the Direct and they shadow drop the demo that same day. That would be legendary. I cannot wait to get my hands on Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, and I hope through all my rambling, if you weren't familiar with these games already, that you consider giving it a shot if it sounds up your alley. It's such a unique experience, and maybe it'll resonate with you like it did with me. And Nintendo, I'm just gonna say, if for no other reason than your own sake, you better stay true to your word on this one.